Here is my favorite brushes for the year of 2017. I have a bunch of brushes here that I felt like I needed to do its own video because I have quite a bit of brushes that I feel like we can talk about. So I want you guys to get your notepads out, get a pen, because we're going to talk about brushes, and a lot of them are affordable, and I feel like a lot of you guys have seen these in my videos before, and we're going to talk about them, and I'm going to tell you guys the brushes that you need to have that have been amazing for me this year. Let's get diving into it, but before we do, make sure to subscribe down below, and let's do this. Maybe I'll start with face brushes because those are like the fattiest ones here. Actually, I see one right here. I see one's trying to get away from me. Very first face brush we have here is the Morphe E6. This particular brush has been a game changer for my foundation. This brush is definitely going to give you a full coverage finish. So if you guys are looking for a good brush to use along with a good foundation that you already have, or you find that your beauty blender is just not performing with the foundation as well as you want it to, what I like to do with my foundation is I actually like to take it and kind of stipple it on, and then once I get done, I'll go in with the beauty blender and kind of blend everything out, which I normally don't really have to with this brush. With other brushes I do, but this in particular is just, it's an amazing brush. If you guys are looking for a new foundation brush, or you kind of want to switch up your routine from a beauty blender and kind of want to switch over back to brushes, definitely do recommend checking this one out. You guys are going to love it. So the next one I have here is very similar to the one that I just featured. This here is the e.l.f. powder brush. So if you guys are on a budget and you guys are wanting a foundation brush, for a while there, I was using this all the time to put my foundation on, and then I use another one to pack on my powder. So whether you were looking to pack on powder or pack on foundation, I feel like this brush is essential to your kit. If I have to recommend any e.l.f. brush to you guys, this would be one of them. This would be the one to get. Definitely do recommend this one. The next one I have here, which I get a lot of questions on my comments as to what brush I'm using. This here is the Morphe M527. If it looks familiar, there's a reason. I use this in almost every tutorial to bronze up my skin, and I actually have two of them. This is the R7, but they're exactly the same. One of them's just rose gold and one isn't, but this here is the best brush I have found to bronze up the skin. It's very fluffy and it's big and fat, so it's going to really kind of diffuse that look at the same time of kind of giving that sun-kissed look. But to apply powder this year, my favorite brush so far has been this right here, which is by Real Techniques. This here is the powder brush. They hold up really well. The one thing I love about Real Technique brushes is I've never had to replace one more than a year in between of each other, so they hold up a lot better than some of my other brushes I own. This one in particular I love the most for translucent powder because it picks it all up and then it kind of just diffuses it all onto the skin really nicely, so you're not left with like little white casts of powder everywhere. But I actually have one with me that I keep here, and then I keep one in my car, so in case I need to powder up my skin while I'm in the car on my way somewhere. But yeah, this one is amazing. Another brush that I love for underneath the eye area as well is the Morphe E49. Now there's another brush that's very similar to this one, and it is by LUXIE Beauty, and it's the exact same kind of tapered, kind of a T-shaped brush. When I got this one, I was like, oh my goodness, it looks exactly like the LUXIE, and I'll show you guys a side by side. And I use that one exclusively for setting underneath my eyes. I'm sure you guys have seen it before in my tutorials, but this one is the perfect size. I mean, look at this. This is perfect, especially getting right here on the inner corner. It's just amazing. Packs on color, but you can also use this as a highlighter. So if you guys are needing like a highlighting brush, you guys can definitely use this as a highlighting. It's going to give more of that diffused, soft look. This is one of my favorite brushes of all that we're going to be talking about. So last two brushes I have are for contour, and these two brushes I've featured numerous times in my videos. I own 2 or 3 of these brushes. The very first one I have is actually a fan brush, so you can use this as a contour or you can use this as a highlighter, and this is the Morphe M310. I also do have the Morphe M530, which is a very, very popular brush to use to contour. This is what I get the most questions about asked, is where this brush is from or who makes it. The reason I started using it to contour is because I don't know who it was I saw, but I saw somebody using a fan brush and I was like, that is such a great idea. It's going to give you that sharp look, but it's also going to diffuse it at the same time. And I believe that they used a little bit of a fatter one. I personally was like, well, I have this one, so we'll will try it out. And I've used it numerous times, and it's a very great alternative to the NARS Ita brush. If you guys know that one, that's like an infamous $70 brush, which I use, but it gives that same result. You're just gonna kind of swipe it right on where you want to contour, and then I kind of just brush it out just to kind of give it that diffused effect. So let's take a little bit of a break between the two sets of brushes. I do want to mention this because I get a lot of questions about this. This here is the Shadow Shields. These are the original. I definitely would recommend them, especially if you guys like to do your face makeup first and then your eye makeup. This is definitely going to help out with like those pesky shadows, like those deep browns and those blacks or any sort of glitter fallout. It's going to catch all of it, and then it's going to come right off, and you can just throw it right away. So we are now going to finish off with eye brushes, which I have here. They look like there's a lot, but we're going to get through it pretty fast because, I mean, there's only so much you can talk about, right? The very first one I want to talk to, I'm going to give you guys two different options. So in case you guys have a brand preference, are these really itty bitty brushes for your crease. I love this, especially if you guys are somebody that likes to do eye makeup, or you guys like to do cut creases or really define the crease. You don't even have to do a cut crease, but if you just like to define the crease, it's only going to place the product where you want it, which is really great. So the next brush I have here is the Morphe M218, and I want to show you guys just a little bit of a comparison here. So the black brush is what I use for my transition shade, and then this one right here is the comparison to it. It's still a little bit bigger than this one. It's kind of one of those brushes, when I first got it, I was like, okay, it's too small to highlight with, but it's way too big for my eye. What I found, it's perfect for transition, because it's one of those brushes that I only use if I am wanting to put just one color of shadow on my eye. So I'll basically use this brush for a one color shadow look. I'll just kind of run it all over. It's going to diffuse the color, put it all over, and it blends out like a dream. This brush is also amazing to set your eyes. It's so soft, and it just picks up loose powder really good, but it also holds it really well, and it packs it on really, really nicely. The 4 blending brushes that I use all the time for my tutorials to start off any of my looks. So the very first one we have here is the Morphe E27. Then here is the Morphe R37. Then we have the Morphe R40, which is slightly bigger than this one, as you guys can see. So it's going to be a little bit fatter. So it's going to be nice to blend everything out, kind of like a clean blending brush. And then the last one we have is the Morphe M504, which I feel like is almost really good for pinpointing either highlight or transition shade. So they're all slightly different in size, but just in general purposes, if I have to recommend a transition brush for you guys, any of these 4 will do the job. I find that they work really well on the skin, especially if you're working with any colors that are super patchy. I find that these blend the eyeshadows out really nicely, so it's kind of one of those foolproof brushes that you always need to have on hand. This here is the Anastasia number 12 brush for your brows. It comes with a spoolie on one end. I do believe she makes 2 different versions. I use number 12. I find it to be the best brush actually for your brows. I have tried almost every brand I can think of for brow brushes, and I have not found one yet that works as well as this one does with dip brow. So if you use dip brow and you don't have this brush, you definitely need to get it. For crease brushes, I have 3 different brands that I want to mention. In these 3, I was actually surprised with one of them that I would end up liking it. The one that we have in black is the Morphe. Then in the middle, we have the Zoeva. And then on the white one right here at the far end is the KYLIE Cosmetics brush. Now the Zoeva brush, I will say, I've had this for over a year, and it's gone through a lot of wear and tear, and it is held up so well. When it comes to Zoeva brushes, I have quite a few of them, and they are one of the only brushes that I have found that have not broken up on me at all. And then we also have the Morphe brush, but the KYLIE brush was the one that I was really impressed with. It came with one of the palettes that I had purchased back in the summer. I actually really like this brush. I was like, wow, okay, well, I just spent like $40 some for a blending brush, but nonetheless, it works really well. So if you guys have the palette and it came with the brush, let me know your thoughts. I don't know if maybe it's just my brush came out really good, or I don't know. I'm still not spending $360 on a brush collection, though, that's for sure. So the last brush I have here, which is a longtime love of mine, and it is a brush that I use to create those like winged liners. If you're looking to create a really sharp wing, I highly would recommend getting this one right here. This here is the Delium Tools 762. It is so small. I mean, so small. And I know that the one from Sigma is very, very popular. But if you were looking for an affordable dupe, I get get mine through Amazon, and I absolutely think that this brush is just as good as the Sigma. I actually own the Sigma one as well, and I still always reach for this one. I believe this one retails for like $7, and I believe it's on Prime, so anytime I run out, I just get a brand new one. But I've had this for over a year, and I use this like nonstop, and it has not frayed, not one bit. Some of the other brushes I have, you guys can see, is kind of frayed, but this one holds up really well. That is the one thing I really love about Delium tools, is how well they hold up. So that there are the brushes that I absolutely love for this year. You guys know I have a subscription service, so I get a lot of Morphe brushes, but that's not to say that there's a lot of other brands out there that I mentioned that are amazing. So let me know down below some of the brushes that you guys love as well. If you guys want to know more about Morphe, I'll also have their information down below as far as the subscription service that I'm entered into. I love you guys. I'll see you guys all in my next video, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.